Today's episode of The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown is brought to you by Jeanette McKenzie, Realtor at Forest Hill Signature, and Jewelry Forever at jewelryforever.ca. Enjoy the show.
Broadcasting live from Glenmore Record Studios in Toronto, this is The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown, your Sunday morning talk show with interesting guests, live musical performances, and the most fun you can fit in your coffee cup. Hosted by Scott Dion Brown and Regina Elena. This is The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 164 of The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown. I am your host, the one, the only, Scott Dion Brown. But I am not joined today by my co-host, the greatest co-host in the galaxy, Regina Elena, because Regine is actually working right now. She is hosting an online pageant. My co-host, of course, quite involved in the pageant world. And sometimes that pageant world comes calling, and she must respond. So, Regine, we miss you, and we hope you have a great time hosting the show. You're going to smash it out of the park, as you always do, and we will see you again next week. Good morning, Nightwolf. How are you? Welcome to the show. How's everything? How are you doing? Ocean Person, good morning. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Raisa. Raisa is here, of course, of APSO. And hey, Sleepy Zaki is here as well. Hi, guys. Before we get started, please boop that like button. Boop. Just give it a little like. Tap that little like button. Subscribe if you're new. And we're going to dive into this show. I am going to introduce our guest. The guest is here because Raisa from APSO. We had a couple guests on before from this new book that's coming out. And our guest today is a contributor to that book. I have an intro for her. I will read it. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today is a mother, DJ, podcast host, author, and entrepreneur. She's creative and shares her magic through her voice and music. She's a strong voice for issues in the Black community and mental health, and she uses her platform on City Lounge, a podcast, to have tough conversations and inspire others with her guests. Author of the upcoming book, Stop Stopping Yourself, she shares her journey to inspire others who have forgotten their magic. She's gone on a personal healing journey where she rediscovered her authentic self and spirituality and has become a mentor for others on a similar path. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm sit-down welcome to Mary B. Hello.
Hi. Hello, Scott.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. So you are a host of your own podcast, the City Lounge. So so I guess you're pretty used to interviewing people at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Do you find yourself are you interviewed very often, or are you usually the interviewer?
I'm usually the interviewer. Definitely usually the interviewer. So yes, it's being on the other side can be a little bit nerve-wracking, but it's I'm used to it. So I'm used to, being in that environment. So it's all good.
I feel like this is going to be a smooth conversation. I feel like just because even though interviewer interviewed, it's still like we're both now quite used to having to basically chat with people online, and I feel like I think it's gonna be good. Yeah,
I feel so cool.
So I guess let's dive in first off. The main reason that you came on the show today is to promote the brand new book, Stop Stopping Yourself. That's been put together by the people at APSO. You have contributed a chapter to this book. So tell us a little bit about the book, and then we can talk a bit about your chapter.
Sure. So there's 15 authors, and we came together collectively, and we all wrote a chapter in the book about, I guess, our experiences, our perspective, and we wanted to be an advocate for the younger adults, teenagers, older adults. I feel like anybody could actually read this book, because I feel like there's no age where like you're not in your head, and it's just good for people to read it so that they can resonate with any of the authors in the chapter, and you can see what works for you, and to just basically just get out of your head. So it's called Stop Stopping Yourself, and it's just breaking out of the mold, and awakening your potential. You know what I mean? And so I think we're all guilty of that, just being in our head, and we feel like we can't do anything, or we psych ourselves out. So this book is going to be good for people who just want to get out of their head.
Who wanna stop stopping themselves.
Stop stopping yourself. You got this. So yeah, my chapter is called Remembering Your Magic. Yeah.
Cool. So the book is available now. You guys just saw a photo of it there, and it's available in digital on Amazon right now.
Yeah. Yes.
And I believe if you want to get a hard copy, basically you just got to get in touch with one of the authors, and they can set that up.
Yes. And we officially launch January 31st. But if you want a physical copy, you can definitely reach out to myself and the other authors, and we'll be able to ship it out to you.
Cool. And yeah, there's a photo of it, everybody. I've got a photo there of it. It's sitting next to a cup of coffee, and that's exactly what you can do to you can sit down with a nice drink and enjoy the book. Nightwolf was asking, how much is the book? That's a good. I don't actually know. I'm not sure. Do you know? Something.
How much is the book? I believe with shipping and everything, including, it's $20.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
There you go. And Reis is also in the chat. Reis, if you want to confirm that, you can. And who else we got here? Oh, Hannah Trepanier. Good morning. Welcome to the show. We're here with Mary B. and Ocean Person. Scott, not sure if you respond to comments, but I'll be taking my leave in 23 minutes. Sounds good, Ocean Person. We these chats, sometimes we respond, but it depends how the conversation's going. If there's a little pause, then I can come over and respond to comments. But sometimes we get into things. We just get into it. So, but enjoy the show, everybody. Thank you guys for being here. So why don't we talk a little bit specifically your chapter, which is called Finding Your Magic. So tell us about that. Yeah.
For me, it's a metaphor for basically, I feel like your magic is your gift, right? And I feel like we were all born with gifts, and somewhere along the line of just going to school, just life happens to you. We lose that, we lose the inner child. We lose being our authentic selves, because you have people you go to school with, you have teachers, you have family members. So I talk about basically finding back my authentic self, my gifts. I'm a DJ, so I've always loved music growing up. I've always been told, oh, Mary, you talk a lot. And now I have my own podcast, and it's just about being comfortable in your skin, being your authentic self, and just the kind of the trials and tribulations that I went through to get to this point. The work I had to do, just sitting with myself, solitude and all that stuff. So, and it's not just me, a lot of people go through it. So I hope with my chapter, people resonate with that, and they can be like, oh, wow, I went through something similar, and, you can always come out on top, So that's kind of what how my chapter is about.
Cool. Yeah, that can be I guess it's just, I don't know, if, as people get older or whatever, life, challenges and things tend to get in the way, and you can you forget that, lose that, part of yourself, I guess. So is your chapter, is a lot about kind of remembering sort of the things how you were as more of a child, or is it something more related to, what is it more related to? Like your yeah.
Oh, sorry to cut you.
No, that's fine.
So I would say in the beginning of the chapter, I do talk about, so you remember the movie Matilda?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Matilda, like her family didn't see her, her family didn't hear her, but like she had magic, right? And so we may either be the black sheep of our family, or our parents are just doing the best that they can. And sometimes with cultural differences, so sometimes in your culture, even just saying how you feel in your culture, they look at it like, oh, you're talking back. So at a very young age, your voice is cut. At a very young age, you don't know how to set boundaries. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
so you end up people pleasing. And so I just talk about, just being tired of being like that, and just having to really unlearn things. And then, just going on, just making sure that spirituality is your foundation. And from there, you can get through anything. Don't go through this alone. If you have to reach out to a therapist, if you got to go to friends or family, like whatever it is that you need to do to get back to that inner child. So that's kind of like what my chapter is about, just getting back to your authentic self. And what I did, I wanted to make it a bit personal, because that's the only way people can really resonate with you. They can connect. They can be like, wow, like she went through it. Okay, then, you want to inspire people. You want people to know that, like, trust me, you're not the only one that goes through that. We all go through it, but you can make it out.
Awesome. That's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, Risa says, oh yeah, book is $20, DM Mary. Okay, cool. That's Risa saying that. And Nightwolf says, okay, then seems like a book I will enjoy. Yes, you just might there, Nightwolf. Yeah, it's interesting. I notice I meet some adults,
Mhm.
and I wonder, like, there are some adults, and maybe it happens to a lot of adults, where they completely almost forget what it was like being a child.
Mhm.
And like some I meet and I'm wondering, like, were you ever a child? But like obviously we all were.
Mhm.
But what do you think that is? What do you think happens there where you just, I don't know. Because I can remember myself, I remember quite a bit about what it felt like when I was a kid. I don't have like, my memory's not super great in terms of, I can't remember every single thing that happened every day, but I do remember like things that I thought were important, or things that I, thought a lot about, or how I felt about certain things. But I feel like a lot of adults don't have that. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree. Sometimes people do forget about that side of them, or that feeling. And I think it's just, I think life just gets to them. I think that, like we said, they kind of forget. They're just so, they can be overwhelmed by, the stressors in life, like working. They have a family. They don't, some people just really don't have that time to like sit and really be in their feelings.
Mhm.
Some people, some people know, like, okay, if I get in this mode, I might stay there. And I think that's the fear. It's the fear of not, of the unknown. Like, you hear some people say, like, yeah, like I was tired of this job and I just quit. And they just kind of like, but some people are like, they can't get into that mode because it's like, I have a family to feed. I have bills. I have this, I have that. I just think it's just the stressor of life as to why sometimes we forget ourselves, or just maybe the company that they keep. Some people are just maybe not comfortable with just being themselves. So I think that could be it. What do you think? What about you? What would you say about that?
Yeah, I would agree. I think pressure can do a lot, right?
Mhm.
And pressure of any kind, I guess. I mean, when somebody's under a lot of pressure or stress from various situations, I guess it can make it's very hard to function, say, normally, if there's
Mhm.
something always pressing on you all the time, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I mean, we all have pressures, but I guess if it can be significant or more than maybe your average person has to deal with, it can be, yeah, it can be hard. Or especially if there's something that's, you know, always pulling your focus, like you always have to be focusing on this thing. It can be very, very easy to neglect other things, especially yourself.
Yeah. And a lot
So
of people, they lose themselves. They lose themselves, like, and yeah, I agree. It's the same thing like you said. It's just the stress of life, So I agree.
makes sense. I do remember one time I was I was well, where was I? I wasn't anywhere. I was on social media. I was on Facebook, I think. And somebody in that I went to high school with wrote this status that was like, I saw these kids on the bus today and they were being really loud. And she said something like, I can't believe like how this generation of kids are. I remember she wrote that.
Mhm.
And I remember reading it and I was like, I knew you in high school. Like, I remember how we were,
Mhm.
you know? And I was like, but have you just forgot? Like, we were loud on the bus, you know?
Exactly.
And
Yep.
it was just strange. I'm like, I know you. So I don't know. I'm not sure what happens there. I'm not sure if that was pressure. Like, I don't know. Anyway, it was.
And it's about perspective. So like she was like, oh, they're so loud. And some people used to be like, yo, back in the day, that used to be us. Like we used to be loud on the school bus. It's all about perspective. Like, are you gonna be a negative Nancy or are you gonna be optimistic and be like, man, like this used to be me kind of thing, you know?
Yeah,
So yeah, it's about perspective too.
it is. Yeah, I guess what you're touching on makes sense. Is that when there's a lot of pressures or when you're focusing on the day-to-day grind of getting things done, I think it can be easy to you know either forget things or just sort of not focus on it. Um,
Hmm.
I mean, I remember like a few years ago, I found like some old pictures from like my elementary school, and I'm like there, and there's like 4 or 5 kids around me, and we're all like right? And I look at the picture, and I was like, I don't remember like half of these kids, but so there is a lot of things that change, I guess. But
Hmm.
so it's interesting. It's interesting.
Experiences change people too.
Yeah.
Experiences change people too. So yeah, and I think that's why like even to like I'm a mom, right? So I have my son, and your kids just kind of, you learn from your kids. Like literally your kids are a mini version of you. So you learn, they kind of teach you without you even knowing it, right? And they kind of like make you remember. Like my son actually inspired me with the book because he loves magic. My son loves magic. Like he loves Moana, all these Disney movies. Like right, he loves Encanto right now, and so yeah, like they kind of just bring you back to like your younger self. Like they ask you questions. What did you want to be when you grow up? Like, and so yeah, man. I don't remember where I was going with this, but uh, yeah. Shout out to the kids, man. Forever young.
Shout out to the kids.
Yeah, shout out to the
Um,
kids. Yeah.
Nikki N says, especially in these times, I think that reassurance is needed. Excited to read the book. And she says, as a mom, it's hard to focus on yourself sometimes and need a moment to remember your authentic self. Yeah.
Yes. Shout out to Nikki. I can't see who's on, but shout out to Nikki and anybody that is on this. Oh yeah, there we are. Yeah, shout out to Nikki. That's my girl. Shout out to my cousin. Yeah, we do. She has a point. Yeah, as parents, we do lose ourselves. Definitely, we lose ourselves because like we're providing for our kids and stuff like that. But you just love them so much because they just, like I said, they teach you. They teach you about yourself. You want to definitely break generational curses. Patterns of how you were raised. I feel like kids nowadays, it's important that they're able to let you know how they feel, their interests. Kids, they're like little people like us. They want to be talked to. They want to be heard. They want to be seen, So back in the day, I don't feel like we were really, they're kind of just like, I feel like the generation of our parents, like they clothed us, they fed us because they're coming from different countries, right? So we're kind of like first gen Canadians. So it's like, okay, like I always say our parents, they walked so we could run, or they ran so we could fly. We just have to keep getting better with the younger generation. So yeah, man, shout out to the moms out there, that are just holding it down and just trying to create better versions of ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Also, Ibrahim Frank Banda is here.
yeah, that's
He
my
says,
brother.
oh, Nice. Hello, hello. Welcome to the show. Ocean Person shall be taking my leave now. Farewell. Take care, Ocean Person. All the best. Thank you for stopping in. Hit that like button. So anyway, stop stopping yourself. It is available now, everybody, and feel free to either pick it up. You can get a live copy or physical copy. If you contact any of the authors, you can DM any of them, and they can get in touch and figure out how to get you the book. Or you can get a digital copy, which is on Amazon, and the link for that is in the description down below. Now, I wanted to ask you about so you're a DJ, and I did want to ask you about that experience. How did you become a DJ, and then just a bit about it?
Like I said, I've always liked music. So shout out to JKD and D-Rock. D-Rock taught me how to DJ. And I just kind of like, when I first learned how to DJ, I remember I DJ'd at a family friend's Christmas function. And I felt like I wasn't good enough. And so I just kind of stopped it. And then I went through this whole journey and I was like, you know what, let me just try this again. And I just kept practicing. And I decided to let me just take a leap of faith and just go out there. And, I got a really good response. And from there, I just kind of just kept doing it. I love entertaining people. I love music. And so it's just something that I was like, let me just do this. Let me become a female DJ. And I love it. I love playing for people. I like setting the vibe. I love when people have a good time. I love to bring people back to that nostalgic feeling. So yeah, that's how I got into it. Just learning and then going out there and just trying something,
Cool.
Yeah.
That first time you did it, did you find, because I know I've talked to a lot of artists when they perform, especially when I talk to them about their earlier performances and things, is a lot of the times I know as artists we tend to really be critical of ourselves, almost more so than even the people watching are. Whereas I'll talk to somebody, or not, even myself, I'll get on stage and I'll do a performance, and I remember getting off stage thinking, oh man, I really messed that up really, really bad. And then meanwhile, you talk to people who were in the audience and they were like, no, I didn't notice anything. Did you find that there was some of that, or what kind of stuff did you find you had to work on in the early times?
Yeah, definitely. I am one of those people. I know exactly when you're saying that. I know exactly what you mean, because we are critical on ourselves, and that's what I really like about the book. Because stop stopping yourself. You're the only person that could really stop yourself. You get what I'm saying? How you think about yourself, how you speak about yourself, how you speak life into yourself. And when I do perform, I am very critical. I'm like you. I'll be like, oh, I don't know how that set was. And my friends are like, yo, that set was good. But I'm just like, no, So yeah, definitely. And when I first came out, I was definitely like that. Sometimes I do have those moments. But it's all about just having that confidence and not taking things too personal. What can you work on the next time? But yeah, that definitely happens sometimes, for sure.
Yeah, it's I think it's important to be, it's about, there's a balance you have to find, I think, as an artist, because I find if I'm I create music as well, right? But let's say I'm working on something and I want to put it out there. I've got this very, very high degree of it must be this way. And there are times, and I remember I struggled with it a lot, particularly again earlier on when I was creating stuff, where I would be so picky about what I was trying to do that it would almost paralyze me, in the sense that I would not put anything out. I wouldn't be producing anything because I was so that's not ready. Oh, that's not ready yet. Nah. And I think if you let that kind of obsession go too far, then yeah, it can stop you from actually doing anything. But then you don't want to be so uncritical that you're just throwing out anything and you're not improving, I guess. So it's about finding that balance, which I think can be really hard to find.
Yep. Oh my gosh, you're just speaking the truth right now. It's so true. Your perfectionism could really cripple, it could cripple your art. you know. And the thing is, when you put out a project or you put out something, it's like you feel like you have to live up to that. Like, I can't just put out something and it's not good, you know. And so yeah, like just like how you're into music and you write, and like yeah, like you definitely put things off because you're like, yo, like I don't think it's good enough, I don't feel confident about it. And it's just about having that balance. And I mean, I know exactly what you're saying, because that's like, I find myself being like that too. And it's definitely crippling, you know. It definitely is.
Yeah, I think one way I found to deal with it a little bit was, I think it's part of it's why I think it's important to keep putting stuff out kind of publicly. And it's almost like you can't even necessarily trust people you know directly, because friends, if they want to spare your feelings, they'll like, even if you put out something that needs improvement, they might be like, no, that's really, really good, right? But I find you can kind of gauge, like if you perform for an audience, you know, and the audience is clapping, or like maybe it's what happens is if you're performing, say, like a community event or something. Usually there's other organizers of events, and they might come up to you and be like, oh, that was good, here's my card. And you know, that's kind of how you can gauge. So like, I know, like in your case, you've been, I mean, I saw on Instagram you DJ'd all sorts of events, but I know you've I saw you did a wedding lately, which so you're clearly, you know, doing something that somebody was, you know, willing to trust you enough to handle their, you know, very huge night of their life. So
Yeah.
so you're definitely, and I wanted to ask you about as well. We were talking briefly beforehand. So you were able to DJ in Ghana recently.
Yes, I was able to go to the motherland and you know, perform, and it was such a beautiful moment. It was something that I always wanted to do. So when I was able to do it, it was just like, wow, like I was just so grateful for the opportunity. I was just so happy. You know, my family was there. It was just a really big moment, because not a lot of people like travel and are able to do that. And it's just weird how that happened. But I do believe in alignment. I do believe in divine timing. And I do believe what's for you will be for you. And so how it happened was my friend, I met him I played out at a party in the summertime, briefly just met him. He came to the party. He's like, hey, I'm going to go home and take a nap. I'll come back. We exchanged Instagram, and then I was like, hey, I'm going to Ghana. Are you going to go this year? He's like, I don't know. He ended up going. And then he's like, I'm playing out, come out. So a lot of us from Toronto were in Ghana. So we all linked up that night to show support to him. Cool. And then he ran over to me and he's like, yo, these girls want to hear soca. I have a 1-2 soca, but I don't really, you know, play soca. So he's like, just come up here and play off my laptop. Now, when you're a DJ, you can play off of people's laptop, but it's kind of difficult because people have their own cues. So I went up there and I literally played for like, I don't know, 5 to 7 minutes. And then the owner was just like, hey, I'm having a girls' night and I would love for you to come and play, and I like to book you. And that's just how it happened. Like, I'm shaking because the way it happened was just so beautiful. And I was able to play, and I that's going to be like one of those moments that like I'm just going to cherish forever. So it was really, really nice. So yeah.
Awesome.
Really good experience.
That's cool.
Thank you.
And you know, I mean, that story, it's I think a lot of being an artist, I talked to a lot of artists, and it's like that. Like, you think that, you know, when opportunities come along, you don't know when they're going to come or from where. And so many artists I talk to, it's like, oh, how did you end up doing this? Like, oh, you played that show. How did that come about? And it's always like a weird story where it wasn't planned, or this happened and this weird coincidence. And I think the most important thing is, as an artist, is you want to just make sure you're ready for when that opportunity comes, right? Because I mean, it could have happened that you were on that trip, and they could have been like, oh yeah, do you want to be booked? And you could have been, I don't have my set. It's not, I can't, you know. Whereas that would have been a huge opportunity missed. But being ready to just jump on it is I think the key.
Yes.
From when it comes. Did you find you approached that show differently than you would maybe a Toronto crowd? Like, did you adjust the set, or what did you change when you were going for basically in a different country, right?
So the thing is that up in Toronto, I really feel like it's a lot more pressure because you know people. You know them personally. So you're always like, man, I got to make sure, you know. But in Ghana, I didn't really know the crowd. So I was just like super confident. I came in like guns blazing, like I want to do really good so that they can always ask me to come back, you know. I want you to come and play in other shows, and you just kind of want to, you always want to try to solidify yourself and let people be known. You want to be known outside of your, you know, your hometown. So that was kind of my thing. And so I went there, and yeah, that was it. I went down to Ghana with my headphones. I went down to Ghana with my laptop. Like I was like, yo, like I'm gonna try to play here, you know. And so yeah, Boom Bar is a really big establishment in Ghana. It's like near East Legon, I think. It's like in the heart. It's really big. And then I played at another event, Grime and Aroma, where my cousin, she works. I played there as well. But yeah, it was just really good. Yeah, I definitely went in there confident, and I was just like, yeah. And I was taking in the other DJs there as well. I was taking in what they like to listen to, so I can bring that sound back to Toronto, you know. You want to so it was really good. It was good. Yeah.
Cool. So it's interesting. So you found it more liberating, being in a venue where you kind of were, I guess, like you said, you didn't know a lot of people there. So you felt more just like, all right, yeah, let's just go.
Yeah. I know it sounds weird, but yeah. That's the God honest truth. Up here, I do feel a little bit of pressure. But you know, working through it. So, you know.
Of course. Yeah. That's cool. And then, like you said, you got inspiration there that now you think you're bringing back to the type of shows you do in Toronto now.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So how about you? I know you're into music as well. So how long have you been doing that? And how about you when you get on stage? Like, what's your thing that you kind of like get out of your head? Like, what about you?
Yeah. I play music. I've been playing it since, I don't know how long now. A long time. Basically, I started playing music in grade 10. I mean, that's when I started a band with my friends, and we didn't know how to play, but we kind of learned how, you know. And then at my school, we had these things called spirit assemblies, it was basically just a big concert. Like you could audition to perform, and you could do anything. You could do a dance performance, you could sing, you literally do anything. You perform. So that's where we started. And then after we graduated, that's where we started actually trying to go out and play shows and things.
Yeah.
I used to get very nervous looking at the audience. I remember like I was in this habit of just looking over them, like just like looking at the back of the room, because I didn't want to like just look at my feet or something. So I would just look over everybody. And I remember there was a very specific moment when we were playing a show. It was actually our first CD release party, and I was on stage, and the crowd, it was a big crowd. We managed to get a lot of our friends, and it was a big crowd of people. And I remember there was a moment when I actually looked at the audience, and for the first time, I wasn't like scared of them anymore. I realized that like they were like, I don't know, I felt like it was feeding me.
Mm-hmm.
And now I actually really enjoy like looking, and like, you know, when I look through the crowd, I'll look at individual people and like make eye contact for a moment. And I find that like it was an interesting transition. Whereas before I was, you know, playing my songs, and I know that this is for the audience and I like it, but it was a big change for me when I suddenly realized that no, there's like this thing that's happening. It's not just I'm playing songs and there's a crowd there. It's that they're influencing each other.
Yeah,
you know?
that connection.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I think you probably had the exact same, you have that same relationship, right? Because you almost have to, I guess you'll probably have to read the crowd, right? And depending on how they're reacting, you have to make adjustments, right?
Yes. So I totally understand. And I guess when you got to that moment or that level, it's kind of like the confidence was there as well. Because like to look people in their eyes, kind of like, you know, you got to be confident. You got to go up there and be like, okay, I know what I'm doing. And then when you make that connection with them, it's like, all right, like I got you kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, it took me a long time to understand that, but I think it was also a confidence thing as well in that, um, I don't know, there's a point when you kind of realize, okay, like, yeah, I should be up here,
Yeah.
like there's that, I'm sure you've heard this, that imposter syndrome that a lot of artists deal with, where you always feel like you're almost fooling everybody into thinking that you're, an artist. But really you're not. If they knew the truth, they know that I'm actually not good at all.
Yeah.
But I've seen like even famous actors and like singers who like people who are like rock stars or whatever. They still talk about that same feeling. So I don't think, from what I can tell, it never really goes away.
Yeah.
But also when I see like big name artists talking about that, I'm like, okay, like so. Maybe I'm okay.
Yeah, me too. Yo, me too. I remember watching the Mary J. Blige documentary on Prime, and I was like, oh my God, like I never knew she felt that way the majority of her career. But when you see her, she just looks so confident, and I was like, wow, like a lot of artists really do go through the same thing, because it's like you kind of put yourself out there, and it's like you have to live up to this expectation, you have to do the work. So you just gotta figure out a way to be confident, to know what you're doing, and just kind of have fun with it. Like, have fun with it. Don't take it too personal. Don't make it ruin your day, kind of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. They say fake it till you make it. And it is pretty true, actually.
Yeah, it is.
and for what it sounds like, it's like, even after you make it, you still fake it.
You gotta fake it. Yep. You still gotta fake it.
Yeah. Let's see. Oh, Jellyfish. Hello, Jellyfish. Welcome to the show. Hi. If you're just tuning in, we're here with Mary B. And D2 times says, yes, imposter syndrome is a real struggle. There you go.
It is. Just being in your head, thinking you're not good enough. Trust me, I know. I feel you, D2 times. I feel you.
There you go. Okay, we're about the halfway point. We got to quickly do the ad break. So I'm just going to read these over, and you can rest for a moment.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, today's episode of The Sit Down with Scott Dion Brown is brought to you by the following fantastic advertisers. The Toronto real estate market is growing and changing every day. In these challenging times, you need someone in your corner. Jeanette McKenzie, Realtor at Forest Hill Signature, is committed to looking out for you. She'll go the extra mile to ensure you have all the information you need to make a decision you can feel confident about. Purchasing a home is one of the biggest financial investments you'll make in life. Don't leave it to chance. Call Jeanette McKenzie at Forest Hill Signature. She's my realtor, and she could be yours. Call today at 416-523-0408 or email at JMckenziehomes@gmail.com. Jewelry forever. Conveniently located at CF Markville Shopping Center on 5000 Highway 7 East Markham. They do custom-made jewelry, repairs, and change watch batteries, all done on site. And we have a fantastic deal worked out with them. If you tell them that Scott and Regine sent you, you will get 15% off your purchase. That's right, 15% off. Jerry at Jewelry Forever is an absolute artist. If you have a vision for a piece of work, a piece of jewelry that you would like created, he is the man to make it for you. He specializes in custom work, but they also have a fine selection of already made goods for your perusal. Find out more at jewelryforever.ca. And you can also follow them on TikTok, where they post a lot of interesting things on there about the manufacturing process. Pretty cool stuff. It was also brought to you by Deliciousness Treats. Hot chocolate bombs, dipped Oreos, heart-shaped and other shaped smash cakes. An incredible place to find delicious treats. And Valentine's Day is coming up, people. They've got heart-shaped items. They make great gifts. Get in touch. Find them on Facebook, Deliciousness Treats, or on Instagram, Deliciousness_treats. Get your orders in. Deliciousness Treats, sweet treats in a mug. And if you would like to advertise on the show, it's very easy. All you got to do is get in touch at radioshowad@gmail.com. We do this show live every week, people. And we also do the ads live week to week. What does that mean? It means you can personalize them week to week. Do you have an event, a sale or something happening at a particular time in a particular place, you let us know. We let your potential client base know in real time. It's a great way to build a new relationship with a brand new audience. Get in touch. Radio show ad, radioshowad@gmail.com. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. We are here with Mary B., who is a DJ, podcast host, and author on the new book, Stop Stopping Yourself, which is available, officially launching January 31st. But you can also get it on Amazon, a digital copy now. And if you are interested in a physical copy, get in touch with Mary or any of the authors involved, and they will set that up. But yes, we are here with Mary B. And I did want to ask you, you're a guest on this podcast, but you have your own podcast, which is City Lounge. So tell us about it.
Yes, thank you. So City Lounge is my podcast that I have on YouTube. And yeah, I literally just sit down with, friends or guests that want to come on my show, and they just want to have that opportunity to talk about things that we don't normally talk about, you know what I mean? Or we don't really, they don't want to say, like, some people have conversations and they may have it amongst their friends, but I give them that platform that we can talk about it out loud as well. And it's also a show that I like to highlight, people that are entrepreneurs, people that are starting their business, people that go through mental health, that went through difficulties. It's just me and my friends sitting down and just having just like the conversation we're having. And yeah, we do it. It's not really more like interview style. It's kind of like how we're doing it, conversation style. We talk about things that we've been through, our perspective on things. And so, yeah, like I love it. I feel like City Lounge is like an outlet for me where I can just talk and just, it's like putting my friends on a shrine. Like, look what my friends doing, because I'm so proud of the people in my life that I know certain things that they've been through and where they are now, or what they want to do, speak it out into existence. And so that's why I came up with that platform, literally for like me and my friends. Like, and then it's not only going to be my friends, because I have people that reach out and they want to come on the show. And so, yeah, like that's what it's about.
Cool. So, yeah, you and I have, so we've got this similar experience of interviewing people. What's something you feel you've learned about conducting like interviews and sitting down and interviewing with people?
I would have to say that it's about listening, really listening to people, taking in what they're saying, respecting their point of views. Me and you can have totally different point of views, but I think you have to respect people's point of views. It's like you can agree to disagree, but we don't have to be disrespectful about it. And interviewing people, I would say it's fun. It's fun. Like, I love learning about people. I love like, oh my God, yeah. Oh my God, I went through that too. I love not like, just like how you were saying, like, famous people go through that imposter syndrome. You're just like, oh shoot, like I go through that too. You feel seen, you feel heard, you feel like you're not the only one, like you're not an outcast. And so that's what I love about interviewing people. And just the doors that it opens and the people that you get connected to. You may not know this person. They're like, hey, my friend wants to come on. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, you want to come on my show? Like, you just feel so happy. And I know it's the same thing for you. Like, yeah, like, that's amazing. Like, just having that opportunity. Like, when I found out that I was able to come and have this interview with you, I was so excited. Like, oh my God, like I'm meeting somebody new, I get to learn from you, looking at all your other interviews and stuff. So it's just a learning experience. I'm still learning, so yeah, I would say that. What about you?
Yeah, what have I, biggest thing I've learned interviewing people, I found that my favorite episodes tend to be the ones where I almost midway through will almost forget that we're doing an interview and it just becomes two people chatting, you know? And yeah, like you said, like, well, the example you just gave where watching the Mary J. Blige ones, where you just, you find yourself in territory that you didn't expect to go. But suddenly you're just almost happy that you got there, you know?
Yeah.
I like we were even just talking earlier about the imposter syndrome. Didn't know we were going to talk about that, but yeah, you're finding like you're connecting with somebody, and you're also like, yeah, you're learning things. It's just, there's something very, well, fun but what was I trying to get to though? There was something I was trying to get to. Oh, I think the thing I learned is that I remember when I was first starting, I used to get really nervous about like that I wouldn't have anything to say, you know. I was like, I don't know what if we get to a moment where I can't think of anything to say and the other person isn't saying anything, and then we're both just sitting there not saying anything. Like what am I gonna do? And
For a moment.
yeah, but what I realize now is, even if that happens, that's fine. Like if a conversation, like two people are talking, like if we weren't doing a podcast, if we were just talking right now, right? There might come a moment where we're talking about something, and then there's a moment where, because we've, exhausted what we're talking about, that we might just like, yeah. And that's fine. Like that happens when people talk, right? And the thing is, even when you're not saying anything, there's still communication happening there, right? Like we're still either thinking about what we just talked about, or so when I realized that it's really more about just talking, I feel like I got a lot more comfortable with it. So
because you're like processing right too, right? So if you ever get into that like stagnant kind of position, it's like, okay, I'm processing everything you're saying, and back to like the learning and the experience. And like when you were talking about the balance between being a perfectionist, and I was like, wow, like I go through the same thing, you know what I mean? So it's just about connecting on a different level. When it comes to interviewing, like you realize that there's more people that are like you than not like you, kind of thing. You're somewhere that you guys are going to connect, whether it's culturally, or whether it's musically, whether it's just different things, So that's what I like about interviewing. It's just never a dull moment. It's never a dull moment.
Yeah. And that's especially true, again, why I like the freeform stuff, because I find, I could, and sometimes there's value in doing it. If you like, I make a list of like 10 questions, and then I just ask you this question, and then you answer it, and then you answer, and you kind of go through the list. But I think that I like it more when, you can have a certain, like, okay, like even before this, we knew we were going to talk about the book, and we were going to, about stuff. But in terms of the little, like, I like leaving room for that spontaneity, because you don't know where it's going to go, right? I find for me, when I'm watching interviews or podcasts, that's the part that I like, when I feel like you learn more about a person when they're talking, So
yeah. It's that authenticity, right? It's that like not knowing what you're going to say when you're in the moment, you're put in the spot. You're kind of like, okay, I was just so nervous to do this because, it's like, oh my gosh, but it's going really well. We had a little conversation before, and it's going really well. So, which we knew it would be, because we're two podcast people.
That's what I figured. I mean, I would say the only thing that I find I don't enjoy if I'm interviewing somebody is, and that's not happening today, thankfully, but sometimes when you interview enough people, is like you get some people who give very, very short answers. Like the worst part for me is when I feel like if I'm talking to somebody and then I ask, and then the answer is really, really like, yeah, or no, and then I feel like I'm like, hey, this is a talk show, so like we actually want you to say things. So when I feel like I have to, like, or I'm almost pulling teeth out of the person to get them to, like, that's always the part that I dread. But thankfully that hasn't happened in quite a while. So
that's good. That's really good, because then you feel like you're like over talking, or you're just talking too much, right? It's good when it's balanced, like, have that in-depth conversation, because you just dig deeper, right? We went from, perfectionist to imposter syndrome to, confidence to connecting with people, all in one conversation, because there's layers, there's layers to this. There's layers to this. And it all comes back to the book, which is really good. So.
Yeah. It does all come back to the book. When you were working on the chapter,
Mhm.
did you talk a little bit about like I don't know, like did you find your the stuff you're doing in DJing and podcasting, did that influence how you were writing as well?
When I first started writing my chapter, it was so hard. Like it was so hard because I just didn't know where to start. Like I just, that imposter syndrome, like, how am I going to do this? Like, write a chapter, like my family just found out today because I sent them the link that I wrote a book because, I was just nervous and I didn't know. They said to write, like, if you're going to write something, you got to write something that means something to you,
Mhm.
because then it kind of just flows. And so, yeah, with my chapter, Remembering Your Magic, like, it's just a real life story, like, I just found my magic or I found my gift. And when you have your gifts, you want to share to the world. And so that's how the DJing and City Lounge. And it was just one of those things where I was like, you know what, let me just write like how I got to this place in my life. Because, some people can be going through it right now. Some people go through things that they don't talk about. And sometimes they just need that nudge that's like, yeah, you're going to be okay. It's
Yeah.
this too shall pass, So yeah, not even just my chapter, but everybody's chapter, you're going to get something out of it that's going to resonate with you. And it's kind of going to help you navigate, the steps of, like, everyone's going to talk about, okay, this is how I got out of whatever, this is how I got where I'm at. And you can just choose what you want to navigate, what you resonate to, what you are going to apply to your life to get where you want to be. So mine is about your gift. Like, read my chapter and try to get to your gift if you need to, So yeah.
Awesome. It's
Yeah.
it's cool how you said at the beginning how everybody just found out about it today when you shared it. Because what that reminded me of for me is, and I think it's because of how I tend to work, is that I'm very resistant to post anything that I'm working on social media until I kind of have finished it and I know that I'm like happy enough with it that okay, now you can know that this is what I'm doing. So like I never post that, like, for example, I'll never post as an actor that I had an audition. I never
Yes.
post that.
Mm-hmm.
I will post that I got the part, once I got the
Mm-hmm.
part, you know. But I notice a lot of actors I follow or are friends with, they will post like, oh yeah, I don't know, just kind of almost everything they're doing. Whereas I
Mm-hmm.
tend to like, especially if it's something that I'm not completely okay, this is like, for example, in fact, you know what? It's exactly like what you're describing is that if I got told today that I need to write a chapter for a book,
Mm-hmm.
I would be very, very nervous because that's not really something I've ever done, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so so the fact that you're saying you basically shared it now that it's completely done and so I'm wondering, so you probably went through a lot of, I guess, the similar imposter syndrome you'd go through with other stuff that you do. Because
Mm-hmm.
have you written? Was this your first time writing, like contributing to a book?
First time. First time. Like, yeah. I remember I had dinner with my parents. I don't know if they're watching this. And I was like, yeah, I'm working on something. And I was like, but like, don't worry about it. And they were like, what do you mean? And I was like, so today I was like, hey guys, this is it. My mom's like, wow, like that's amazing, because I just didn't want to psych myself out. And I think it's the thing about following through. So it's like, I don't want to follow through because you guys know that I'm writing a book. I want to follow through because I know that, like, for myself kind of thing.
Mhm.
And like you said, I wanted to make sure that it was good enough. It was done, it was published, and it's like, okay, now everyone can know. So like, even when you tagged me on my Instagram, like nobody on my Instagram knows that like I contributed a chapter to this book. Like they're gonna find out today. Like my girls, my family that's in the chat, like they found out like today. And I like that. I like that. I'm just like you too. Like I won't post things that I'm in the process of doing. I find sometimes it psychs you out. People can't ruin what they don't know. You don't know the energy, or even just, I just want to go through the process by myself. Let me go through the emotions by myself, And so, yeah, it was very up and down. Like even before I sent in the chapter, I was like, but a good girlfriend of mine, shout out to Santasha, she always told me, if it scares you, then do it. If it scares you, then do it. So
Yep.
yeah, hopefully, hopefully it does well. Hopefully people can resonate. So yeah.
And you did it. You pulled it off. You accomplished it.
Yes.
Yeah, and the other thing I find a problem that why I try to avoid posting online while I'm working on stuff is, one, like I like when you said, you wanted to, make sure that you're going through it without the added pressure. But I also find for me as well, there's this other part of, at least then if this totally doesn't work, nobody will know.
Yep.
Like,
They don't
like,
know.
what do you mean I was writing a book? I wasn't in a book. There was never a book, but
Yep.
look, but the other part that I found, I remember when I was working on so I made a short film a while ago, and that was my second one that I've made. And my first short film, I purposely didn't want to post any like, oh, we're shooting this thing today, or oh, I'm editing this thing. I didn't want to do that because I was scared that I find if you get into the habit of like posting, like marketing the thing before it's done, I find it almost, I find it can become almost, you just start to focus more on the marketing of it before the thing is even finished. And then I find it takes me forever to even get to work on it. And so what ends up happening is like, I almost never finish the thing. And I was terrified of the idea of like, I'm going to post that I'm working on this thing, and then it'll never come out. And people will be like, hey, where's that thing you were working on? And I'll be like, oh yeah, it's
there.
coming.
Yeah. Yep. And I know exactly what you mean too, because, and not only that too, I feel like there's a pro and there's a con of posting, because it kind of holds you accountable. Like, okay, I have to finish this, because like, so that's why it's really up to the person. Like, if you put this out there, you have to make sure you finish this. If you don't, you can go through the emotions on your own. You can put it whenever you want to. Like, it's just like, remember we talked about having that perfectionism. Like, I am a perfectionist. So like, some people will be like, hey, like you're mixed, da, 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 da. Little do they know, like I have mixes, but like I just don't feel like they're good enough sometimes, but it's all in your head. You just have to change that like subconscious thinking, like, yeah, it's good enough, it's this, it's that. And also too, when you post stuff, it creates this hype, and it's like, is it gonna live up to the hype?
Yeah,
It's gonna live up to the hype. So that's what it is too. Kind of psychs you out sometimes. So
yeah, I think it can play both ways, because you're right. When you post about it online that you're working on something, that's true. It can work as a, okay, well, I've said I'm doing it, so I guess I better do it.
I have to do it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So perspective again. It's all about perspective.
Yeah, and it's especially tough with again, specifically artists, because especially if you're independent or whatever, like it's not creating your art. It's not like your main like source of income. So like you have to do it all the time. A lot of times you have to find the time to create your art, and like and then because of that, you're the only one really pushing it forward, right? So if nobody's gonna call me up tomorrow and be like, hey, you haven't posted a video on YouTube yet, if you don't, you're gonna get fired or something. That doesn't happen, right? And so there's that difficulty of like you have to find reasons to just keep pushing it out yourself, because you're the only one who's doing it, right? Otherwise there's nobody to keep you going.
Your why. You got to find out your why. Why are you doing this? Yeah, definitely. And that's when like discipline comes in too. You got to be, discipline. Oh, nobody tells you about discipline when you're like doing your own thing. Yeah. Cause that's a real thing. Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's one thing I realized for a long time, or struggled with, or didn't understand, especially coming out of school or coming out of high school when I first started playing music, is I don't know why. In fact, I've thought about this a lot, of whether or not it's just because the way school is structured. Like, school is very much structured like, okay, here's your assignment. You do the assignment, you will hand it in, and then you'll get your mark, and then you'll get your next assignment, and then you hand it, and then the weird part, I think, was after I, graduated and started going out into the world to like make music and stuff, is that I feel like part of me was still waiting for like somebody to give me the assignment, And the weird part of when you realize that you hit a point where nobody's giving you the assignment anymore. Like nobody is going to tell you what to do. Nobody is going to push you to do anything. You almost have to find it yourself.
Yeah.
And that's probably true with not just art, but like a lot of things.
Yeah, that is so true. I never really looked at that. Yeah, because like you never want to be in a position adding on to, okay, no one's giving you that assignment, but it's like you said, you get graded and then, you know, you get an A, B, or C. So sometimes you even fall into the trap of like, you put something out and you just want that validation. Some people like validation is what drives them, right? So depending on how people think, it's like, oh, I'm this or I'm that. So it's just having that balance, like make sure you're not just doing it for people, but make sure your gift or your passion or your art, like it's for yourself. You know what I mean? And just working on the confidence, like you said, and not the imposter syndrome. That's going to carry you for like, that's going to carry you. You just kind of can't feed into it. But yeah, that's true. The assignment and the grading. Somebody giving you the assignment and somebody letting you know how your assignment was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one thing at school. Like, I mean, school's very important. Everybody stay in school, people. But it's definitely a there's a mindset that you have to develop when you suddenly, and they don't really prepare you for that. At least I didn't find that. It's like you get out there, and like even university, like that I went to after that, even that was an adjustment, because it was like realizing that, you know, in elementary school or high school, like if you don't hand in your assignment, your teacher will be like, hey, you got to get, you got to get that assignment in, you know? And there's a little bit of like, hey, make sure you do it. And then you go to university and like the professor doesn't even know you. Like you don't even know your professor, right? He's just this little person at the very front of the, you know, lecture hall. And if you don't hand in your assignment, you'll just get this, like nobody's going to call you and ask where it is, you know?
Yeah.
And if you don't go to class, no one's going to be like, oh, I'm going to call your parents because you weren't. No, like as long as you pay your tuition, they're not going to call you. Right.
Yeah.
So it was, I guess, finding that, I don't know, self-motivation.
That self-drive, that like self-motivation. Like, yeah, I have to. Yeah, it's true. The more older you get and like, you know, you go from elementary school to college to university, it's just like more independent. It's more like, all right, like there's nobody that's going to coddle you. There's nobody that's going to hold you accountable. You kind of have to like hold yourself accountable, you know? Yeah. So yeah. And they don't really, you know, it's an adjustment. It's an adjustment. Cause it's like it's like the majority of your life until you get to college or university, you have somebody on you, like, make sure you do your homework, make sure you this and that. Cause even when you get older too, your parents are not going to be like, did you finish your college assignment? Like they're looking at you, yo, it's college. You should be used to this by now. Right. So.
Yep. Well, plus, especially with college, right? It's not like regular school where like you always start at the same time. So like even if your parents were trying to get you out of bed to go, like they don't know your schedule. They don't know when. So they can't. And actually, it's interesting because that's why a lot of students have a really hard time when they first go from high school to like whatever post-secondary for that reason, because it's like they can't handle the sudden independence that falls on them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
responsibilities.
Yeah.
That comes with adulting.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In fact, speaking of education, I know because you're a mother as well, and your child has been going through with the pandemic and schooling. How has that been? How's that adjustment?
I think it was because the first time when they started online, that was a big adjustment because, you know, my son's in grade 2. So he's experienced kindergarten, junior, senior, daycare, grade 1, physically with kids. So when he had to go to online now, it was a big adjustment. Like these kids don't have the attention span to sit there and just look at their teacher. You know what I mean? With their friends, like they're gonna want to get up. Like my son, it was so hard for him to like kind of just sit down. And like at first I was like, okay, well, you know, you have to do it. But then it's like you remember when you were like, imagine even us as adults online, it's like you don't want to sit there. So imagine these kids who are kids, like, you know what I mean? So you kind of have to put yourself in their shoes and you have to kind of go through the emotions with them. You know what I mean? You can't really be too hard on them because like just like how you're sick of being in the house and online, like they're sick of it too. So the first year was really hard. It was a big adjustment, but I think this year now he's a lot better. He's a lot better because it's going on to the second year. But yeah, it was definitely a big adjustment. And the parents as well. Shout out to the parents that are doing online with their kids. Like it's a lot. It can be a lot. So shout out to the teachers because yeah, shout out to the teachers because us being teachers to our kids it was really a big adjustment because some parents are still working, right? So if you're still working and you're doing this and you're doing that, it takes a toll. It definitely takes a toll, yeah.
I don't know how grade 2 me would have handled online school.
Like they just didn't, and they don't understand. Like my son would be like, "Is there still COVID at the school?" I'm like, "Just can't go to school right now." You know, he was so excited to get back to school, so excited, see his friends, see his teachers. So yeah.
Well, that's the thing, especially when my best memories of school, none of them are the assignments that we were doing, right? All of the fun part is I get to see my friends every day. We get to run around outside at recess. We get to hang out. We get to play games. And it's like they've taken away all the fun parts and just left this part where you have to sit and it's tough.
That's really tough. Shout out to those kids, man.
Yeah.
I remember gym. Remember when it was gym and you had the parachutes? I remember when you seen the big TV come in. Like, yeah, school is so much fun. School is so much fun. It sucks that some of these kids, aren't really experiencing that. Or even too, like, I feel really bad for the kids that graduated, people that had prom, people that weren't able to walk across with their degrees. Like, it's tough. It took a toll on a lot of people.
Losing out all of those, those like
big milestones.
Really, exactly, yeah. Things that you were like. I look back, those like highlights of like my, childhood, and was like, oh. Yeah. So, well, hopefully we're out of this thing. Sorry.
How have you been adjusting to?
It was. Oh, I mean, it was okay. You know what? I find, thankfully, so I live with my girlfriend, and so I think that for me helped a lot in that I know that people who live like by themselves 100% alone, I think especially in the early days and as it went into weeks and months, I think those people probably had the hardest time, right? Because if you're like, no, you have to stay at home and you can't see anyone, and then you don't live with anyone. So I think when you're kind of just alone with your thoughts all the time, I feel like that's so I didn't have to deal with that part so much, which I'm grateful for. The thing that I did struggle with, though, in fact, it touches back a little bit what we were talking about earlier about finding that motivation and moving in that. When suddenly, so when I was playing live music, I was playing in a band that we rehearsed like every week, without fail, pretty much every Monday night, right? And then I wasn't in that band that I'm in. I'm not the guy, like I wasn't the band leader, so he was booking the gigs, and so there was that element of, okay, great. I know that on Mondays I have to go over here and play this, and then I might get a call and we've got a gig. Okay, great. I'm going to go here and we're going to play the gig. And so, and because I was tended to have a lot of things going on in the evenings because of live music and performance and all that, because I find I'm also the type of person where if you give me like 20 things to do, I can get them all done in a day. If you give me one thing to do, I might like waste the whole day because like I only have one thing. So I find I work better when I'm busy. And so because suddenly I wasn't busy, I think it took me a long time to like go, okay, well, you gotta sit down and start working now, get some stuff done. So I definitely struggled early on and still feel like I do struggle with it, of just really getting a lot done in a day, which I wish so that's something that I kind of learned about myself that I didn't like really. Like I was hoping to be one of those people that's like, oh, we've got all this time, great, so yeah, I did this and this and this and this because finally I have all this time and I'm doing all these things. And I found that there was this time where I was just like, no, instead I just kind of stared at the wall or something. I don't know.
You procrastinated till the end because it's like, well, I just have to do this one thing, right? Yeah, I definitely understand. The more you have to do, definitely you're just more productive. I feel like COVID definitely slowed everybody kind of down. Like even when the world opened back up, some people were just like, man, like I can't party like I used to. I can't go out like I used to, because we were just so used to being inside. And, you know, a lot of us are on our phones, like we're into shows, we're like, you know what I'm saying? So getting back out to being like how you used to be is definitely, you know, taking some time, because you're just so used to just kind of like just being home. And like you have something due next week, you have the whole week to do it. Whereas before COVID, you had so many things to do. It's like, hey, let me just get this done right now. So
yeah. And it's almost like even little things that, like even just getting in the car and just going somewhere to get something or something, like it felt like such a big deal, like just going anywhere. Because it's and it would have been something that I was doing all the time, or like, oh yeah, I was always going out here, or like jumping on the subway and going over there and whatever. And suddenly the prospect of like just going somewhere felt so tiring.
Yes. Oh God, it feels good when you're not the only one that feels like that. A lot of people, like, man, I remember when when we opened up for the summertime, and like, cause I'm a DJ, like I would attend these parties, man, like the recovery days, like back in the day, like the next day I was like, good, like it took me like a week to recover, because it's like, I'm just so exhausted. I'm like partying, I'm going to work, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, like, and it's not just me, like so many other people are like, man, like I can't go to 2 parties in one day. Like give me a day party, I can't do the night party, I have to be in bed by a certain time. Like it's just crazy how everyone's just kind of shifted. Like day party now, it's like, give me day party, because the night party is like, I'm just so tired, like I'm just ready to go home. Like
yeah,
everybody's homebodies now.
So I feel like once this thing finally ends, I feel like there's going to be this weird transition where, I feel like everyone's going to feel like, oh, we got to rush out and do everything and party. But then I think, what you're saying is true. There's going to be like, okay, I can't do that again. Oh man, it's going to take me a while.
Burnt out, man. By the end of summer, I was burnt out. I was like, yo, because I was doing like 2-3 parties like back to back every weekend booked. Like it was really crazy, because everybody was just trying to make the most of their summer. Yeah, couldn't keep up, but I had to keep up. But like, yo, just know I felt it the next day, or I felt it within 2 days.
Yeah,
recovery rate was crazy. Yeah,
because when everything changes for like a whole like a year or more, like how it's been, it really does, like once you adjust, it's hard to like change. Like that's you're going to develop a whole bunch of new habits, right? And it's hard to just suddenly change that. It back, right? So, and
naturally up here, we're such a fast-paced country. Like if you go back home or you visit anywhere else, if you notice, everyone's just slow paced. At the bank, you're there for like the whole day. But here, like we're just so fast-paced, you know what I mean? So when it slowed us down, like just to kind of get back up there, some people are like, yeah, they can do it. And some people, they're just like, yo, like it's just going to take me some time, you know? So yeah, that balance.
There it is. Julie Smiles Frank is here. She says, Miriam. She yelled it. Hello.
Hi, sis. Hey, sis.
Welcome. Oh, and Mike Brown, my dad, is here. Good morning, Scott and Mary. Hope you're having a fun show. Oh, and then he says, you can come paint my house. I guess when I was talking about how I was having trouble doing things. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll get over there at some point.
Shout out, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we've been going for over an hour. And that's what I like about these conversations. Is like it never feels like a lot of time has gone by, but then I look at the clock and I'm like, whoa. So that's how you know it was a good one.
The conversation's good, man.
Yeah, exactly. Well, before we wrap up, why don't you let us know social media where people can find you, and I guess the book as well. Yeah.
So my social media, my Instagram handle is DJ_Mary.B. And I have a link tree, so it will take you to SoundCloud, Apple podcasts. You can listen to my mixes. What else? I have Twitch, so it'll take them to Twitch as well. And City Lounge will be back up next month, so look out for that. And I just want to give a shout out to my tribe, my family and friends, my immediate family, and shout out to my son, because I love my son. Just wanted to say publicly, I appreciate you guys. Shout out to Ali and Raisa for giving me the opportunity to to be a part of this experience, because it's like once in a lifetime, you know, like I can consider myself an author now. And yeah, I just want to thank them for allowing me to be a part of the process. And thank you, Scott, for having me as well. This was awesome. I really enjoyed it, you know, and I wish your show nothing but success. And just shout out to everybody that tuned in. Like, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Don't forget to get the book, guys. Stop Stopping Yourself on Amazon, and just hit me up if you want a physical copy.
Excellent. There you go. So links are in the description, guys, for all of those things. And people, also, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button right there, the thumbs up. Boop it, boop. It's sitting right there underneath the screen. Hit subscribe if you'd like to see more content. And yeah, you can follow me right here, youtube.com/Scott Dion Brown, or find me on Instagram or Twitter at Scott Dion Brown. But YouTube is the best place because that's where you get the live streams, the shows, the music. Speaking of music, guys, check out my latest song cover. My brother and myself did a cover of Two of Us by the Beatles. So check it out. It's on my channel. And there we are, playing guitar, singing in harmony. Check it out, youtube.com/Scott Dion Brown. And ladies and gentlemen, we've gotten to the end of the show. Mary, thanks again. Yeah, thanks so much for being here. This was really, really fun.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Scott. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, people. We'll see you all next time. Take care. Cheers.
Bye-bye. Cheers.